Good morning, everybody. We're live from Steepleview Farm. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am telling you what, I have to be at one of the most blessed places on the face of the earth. Every Saturday morning when we launch this show, I look out the window and it's just absolutely gorgeous out there. I'm thrilled to have you with us. Thank you for being here today. Summertime, the weather has arrived. Let's check and see what it's going to be doing over the next week. I know that you, like me, look at the weather. We're not always sure it's going to be what they tell us, but here's what they're telling us. Hot, hot, hot. Look at these temperatures, upper 80s, 90s. Not a lot of rain. Looks like maybe a little rain in our neck of the woods coming in Wednesday. That would be great. We'd love to have a little bit more rain. You know, we planted 20 acres of alfalfa the other day. We finally got all of our seeds in the ground, almost all of our transplants. We've got a few left to go. And we needed water. We were irrigating a little bit. We had to put some water on them. You know, you got to water in your plants. We did that, but all of a sudden we looked at the weather and it was going to be dry and like 20 acres of seeds, no moisture. But out of nowhere, really, just the other night, we're sitting outside, just got done working, heard thunder in the distance, and here comes a rainstorm, an inch of rain, perfect, right on top of everything, watered it in good, we're good to go. And yesterday was not a good day to plant, but we'll take a look at the almanac, and here it is. This weekend, today and tomorrow, good days to plant late beets, potatoes, onions, carrots, and other root crops. Next couple of days, not good days for planting. So if you're making your garden plans for the next week, here's what you want to be looking at. A couple of good days this weekend and not so good days coming up after that. But in my world, today is a very special day. I want to say happy birthday to my 5-year-old grandson, Davis Daniel Carey, 5 years old. You know, the older you get, time seems to go awfully fast, but looking back 5 years, it just evaporated. Don't know where it went. Happy birthday, grandson. Davis Daniel, double D. His birthday is on D-Day every year. Boy, I choke up thinking about it. Love those grandkids, and I know you all do too. Well, let's talk about some of the questions we got this week because, hey, look, it's that time of the year where hopefully you've got most of your stuff planted. Don't forget, if you don't have everything planted, we've still got plants for sale here at Steepleview Farm. You can get a hold of us on the website. You can reach out to me here on Facebook. We've got plants for you. But as things are moving along, most of your stuff is probably in the ground, and now it's time for a little bit of maintenance. What are we going to do? What do we have to do? One of the questions this week, what do we do about our potatoes? You know, we say you're trying to get your potatoes in the ground by Good Friday. Well, this year the weather didn't cooperate. Good Friday came and went, but we got ours in on a good planting day for root crops, put them in the ground, and they came up just a little bit out of the soil, and we got that frost, and it froze the tips off. I thought, goodness gracious, we're not going to have any potatoes this year. They've been killed. Thank the Lord, they came back. They're doing just fine. They're up above the ground. But what do you do with them now? When your potato plants are 6 or 7 inches above the ground, that is the time for you to hill your potatoes. And what I mean by that is you take a hoe, you drag some dirt from either side of the potato row where they're planted, drag that dirt up to them until there's just a little bit of that leaf left sticking out, and then you let those potatoes continue to grow. As time goes on, you'll have to do it again and again and again. So why do you hill potatoes? A lot of people think that it gives you extra potatoes, that they grow to the top. they will send out some tubers, but it really gives the potatoes that are deeper more soil on top of them. It insulates them from the summer heat, and it gives them a moist environment in which the potatoes at the bottom are going to grow into those great big nice baking potatoes that everybody wants. And I know that if the time is right and the weather is right and the soil is right, you need to start thinking about hilling your potatoes. The way you do it, drag dirt right up to the plants, leave about 3 inches sticking up. When they get up to 6 or 8 inches tall, put some more up, and do it every time. You know, I've seen potato patches with hills knee high. Not a thing wrong with that. Another question this week. You know, last week or a week or so before that, we talked about fertilizing with organic fertilizers. And I recommended for your leafy vegetables that you use blood meal as a great source of nitrogen. Well, I got a question this week. Well, we just put down blood meal. We see that it's nitrogen, but where does it come from? Good question. I think the word blood meal gives people maybe a little bit of the heebie-jeebies, but blood meal is actually from cow's blood. It's collected at slaughterhouses and packing houses, but it is not just cow's blood. Cow's blood is then boiled and steamed to take out any impurities and to get rid of all the pathogens. Then it is dried and it is ground, and that's the way you get it. So yes, it is a source of blood. Yes, it does in fact come from cows, but it has been steamed and boiled and been rendered pure through that process. So it's safe to put on your garden. I've been talking about compost for a long time. A lot of people like to use compost, love compost myself. We live by compost around here. But there are a couple of kinds of compost. Now, don't forget, there's compost that has manure in it. We've talked about that before. If you've got manure-based compost, you've got somebody who's got a friend, they got a horse barn, and out behind the barn they've piled up manure, and you want to get some, put it on your garden. Whatever you do, don't put it on green. Make sure it has been sitting for at least a year. It's what they call well-rotted manure. Horse manure is far better than cow manure when it comes to manure for fertilization. Goat manure, sheep manure, chicken manure, rabbit manure, those are better, but they all have to be composted out. If you put them in the garden too soon, it's going to burn your plants up. The other reason you want to compost them out, blood meal is steamed and boiled to remove pathogens and impurities. That pile behind the barn has to cook itself to end up rendering the pathogens and the impurities not harmful for your garden. That process of composting over a period of time, the inside temperature is going to get up to 140, 150, maybe 160 degrees. If you turn that pile, it can cook those impurities out. I prefer leaf compost. I prefer an all-natural compost. I stay away from manure composts. I add nitrogen using blood meal. Now, I was out the other day walking around the garden, and when you walk through your garden, you'll see these beautiful little white butterflies fly up. Well, they're actually not butterflies. Let's see, here we go. They look like this. A lot of people call them butterflies. They're actually the cabbage looper moth. The cabbage looper moth. They've arrived. They're around right now. They're not here early in the season, so if you've got broccoli out and it's ready to harvest, get your first cutting off of it. If you've got cabbage out, if you've got other brassicas out, you've got kale out, get them covered, because these moths are now laying their eggs. And what they do is they lay eggs underneath the leaves on your brassicas, on your cabbage, on your broccoli, on your kale. Those moths will go around and lay eggs underneath the leaves. The eggs will then hatch, and they will be little bitty, almost microscopic caterpillars. They'll grow because they're going to have plenty to eat, and you'll start to see holes in your leaves. Those holes in your leaves are an indication that you've got a caterpillar infestation in your garden. Well, what do you do about that? What takes care of caterpillars? There is a chemical out there called BT. BT comes in a number of different forms. Dipel is one of the most popular amongst organic gardeners. Dipel is a good source of BT. And also, there is Safer brand. You'll find this at your big box stores. You'll find it at Tractor Supply. It is BT. What is BT? bacteria thuringiensis, I can't say the last word, doesn't make any difference. It's a naturally occurring bacteria that's in the soil. The bacteria that's in the soil is then eaten by the caterpillars when you spray it on the leaves. So you mix up the BT, you mix it up, put it in a squeeze sprayer, a pump sprayer, a backpack sprayer, depends how big the area is. Spray the tops and the bottoms of the leaves with the BT. Those little white caterpillars or white moths are around. Those caterpillars are going to be hatching in a few days, and you're going to start to see some damage. To prevent that, spray these plants with BT. Spray the tops, spray the bottoms of the leaves. Now, when do you spray? Do not spray in the 90-degree hot sunshine. First of all, the water droplets on the leaves will act like a magnifying glass. Remember when you were a kid, you could start paper on fire with a magnifying glass? Those droplets of water on your leaves will magnify the sun's rays, and you will actually get burn spots on your leaves. Don't spray in the hot part of the day for that reason. Second, don't spray in the hot part of the day, primarily because you want to be aware of the fact that there are beneficial insects in your garden as well. You'd love to have ladybugs in there eating your aphids. You'd love to have specialty wasps that you can buy and let loose in your garden that will eat the tomato hornworms that are going to arrive sometime soon. You'd like to have some of these other predatory insects in your garden, but most importantly, you want those honeybees, and you don't want to hurt the honeybees. Honeybees are active in the daytime. They tend to kind of sleep in the mornings, and they kind of tend to turn in early at night. So if you're going to spray your brassicas, if you're going to spray your cabbage, you're going to spray your broccoli, you're going to spray your Brussels sprouts, you're going to spray your kale with BT, do it in the evening. It's cooler, more pleasant time to do it, a chance for you to have a little opportunity to inspect your plants to see if you can see the eggs. You know, if you see the eggs on the back, you can just take your thumb and squash them if you want. You don't want to let the caterpillars get to the point where they're big enough you can see them and pick them off. You can do that, but by the time they get that big, they got big by eating your vegetables, and you want to eat your vegetables. You don't want to necessarily share them with caterpillars. So spray BT on your crops, your brassicas, in the evenings. Take care of the honeybees, take care of your plants, and before too long, you're going to have a lot of good food to eat. It's almost harvest season. Anybody on that little game where everybody's trying to get the first tomato by the 4th of July? Well, we're going to try here at Steepleview Farm. Listen, folks, love having you with us. Join us every Saturday morning at 11:30. I'll see you right here live from Steepleview Farm. God willing, and God bless.